Choices, choices, choices. Which armored vehicle should you buy? Will it protect you from an angry 12-year-old with an Oppressor Mark II? Is it fast enough to drive by on someone you really hate? Does it have any offensive potential, or is it just a big damage sponge? Well, today I've got the answers to all of your burning questions, and not only will I tell you which armored vehicle that you should buy, but I'll also rank every single one of them into 5 separate tiers, starting with D tier at the bottom, and then we'll go all the way up to S tier at the top. D tier means the vehicle is very situational, while S tier means it's a must buy for every single player. And if you're curious as to how I'm ranking these vehicles, I want you to know that armor is just one of the deciding factors. I'll also take into consideration things like speed, maneuverability, armor coverage, as well as offensive abilities, and additional features like Imani Tech, for example. If this were a simple list about the most armored vehicles in the game, we all know the MOC and Acid Lab would be at the top, but that's not what I'm trying to do here. My list is something that you can use to decide which armored vehicle that you should buy, and so this video will definitely have practical applications outside of a simple ranking contest. But with all that said, let's kick things off with the very first vehicle on our list, the Rune Zaba, or as I like to call it, the bread loaf, because it kind of looks like a big metal bread loaf with oversized wheels. The Zaba's design is heavily inspired by the Sherp series of off-roading vehicles, specifically the Sherp N1200, which can climb up hills, crawl through ice, and wade through the shallow waters of a swamp. The GTA Online version of this vehicle is also very capable of all of those things, with one small addition: it can tank a whopping 14 RPGs, making it one of the best armored vehicles in the game purely from a protection standpoint. However, I am going to put it on the D tier, and before all you Zaba fans come at me, all 12 of you, let me remind you that this is one of the slowest vehicles in the entire game, and it has a wheelbase that's shorter than Peter Dinklage. That short wheelbase means it's going to flip-flop like a fish out of water at any given time. At least one of the wheels will be levitating in the air while you're trying to look cool in front of your friends on the mountain trail. Yeah, it does have all-wheel drive and it's fully amphibious, which is cool, but how many times have you been in a firefight while crossing a river or going into the water in GTA Online? And if you're that concerned with amphibious capability, why not try something better, like a boat? The HVY APC has all of the benefits of the Zaba, minus the tiny wheelbase and slow speed. The APC is also much heavier, so it won't get tossed around like a ragdoll anytime you're driving next to an explosion. And the windows are also bullet resistant from all sides, giving you 360-degree coverage from incoming small arms fire, as well as rockets and homing missiles. The only downside here is that it has slightly less armor than the breadloaf, so you can only tank 8 RPGs or homing missiles, but that's fine because unlike the Zaba, the APC does have some really good firepower of its own, so you can dish out damage while sitting in an armored cocoon. The stock weapon functions like a low velocity cannon and has unlimited ammo, but if you want some rapid firepower, you can also install the SAM battery for $198,000, but keep in mind that the SAM battery is limited to 50 rounds of ammo, so you will run out kinda fast if you keep shooting it. The APC is also a lot more expensive than the Zaba at $3,092,250, but you can get it with a trade price of $2.3 million if you do the MOC missions, and I think the balance of offensive and defensive capability is pretty good on the APC overall. However, the mediocre speed and high price point does keep me from ranking it any higher than B tier. Next, we have everyone's favorite murder mobile that's been around since the OG heist days, the armored Karuma, and this sporty sedan was first introduced in 2015, and it's been the mainstay of every single heist crew since then. With a seating capacity of 4, excellent handling, and decent acceleration, the Karuma will carry you through contact missions, heist preps, and free roam shenanigans to a certain extent, because the very instant you're greeted with an enemy holding an RPG, or any form of explosive for that matter, the Karuma will disintegrate into atoms from overwhelming shame. It can't tank any explosives whatsoever, making it the weakest vehicle in terms of pure armor, but that's not necessarily what this list is exclusively about, so I'll give it an overall ranking of C. It may not be the best for fighting other players, but if you're just doing PvE stuff with friends, there are truly few cars that are better than the Karuma, which provides all-around coverage from small arms fire, so you're protected from the front, the back, as well as the sides, and because there is no hard armor plating, you can actually shoot freely out of the car with your SMG or AP pistol in any direction you want, even out the rear. Next is the Duke of Death, and compared to the Karuma, which does have a price tag of nearly $700,000, the Duke of Death has a few key advantages. First off, it can tank 3 RPGs and 9 homing missiles, which is a lot more than the 0 of the Karuma, and secondly, it's faster in a straight line, not to mention it looks and sounds so much better. And finally, the Duke of Death is completely free on the Warsaw Cash and Carry website, and thanks to the recent update, it can even accept Imani Tech upgrades like the missile lock-on jammer, which makes it infinitely more survivable against Oppressor as well as Raiju players. Because of all this, I'm going to put the Duke in the A tier. The armored version of the Benefactor Shhatter V12 is just as fast as the regular Shhatter V12, and it can tank 2 RPGs as well as 2 homing missiles. Now that may not sound like a lot, but it will at least give you some time to react by pulling out a weapon of your own or jumping out of the car before it blows up. And it costs just $325,000, making it one of the cheapest armored vehicles that you can buy. The Shhatter is also one of the fastest sedans in the entire game, and it handles pretty well for the amount of weight that it has, making it a super fun vehicle to drive around in free roam. However, unfortunately though, the windows are not bulletproof. Instead, they're bullet resistant, and so they will shatter after soaking up a few rounds. Because of this, I'm going to put the Shhatter in the D tier on my list. At number 6, we have the Bravado Buffalo EVX, which is already more tanky against explosives compared to any ICE car simply because of its electric powertrain. In case you didn't know, in GTA Online, the absence of a gas tank with your vehicle makes your electric car twice as survivable against high explosives, even though we all know what happens to a lithium-ion battery when it's punctured or subjected to extreme heat. But putting aside reality for a little bit, this is a video game, and so if you max out the armor upgrades on your Buffalo EVX, it will tank up to 12 homing missiles and RPGs, which is going to be 4 more than the HVY APC. And if that's not enough, you can add a missile lock-on jammer to the mix, so enemies have an even tougher time as they try to blow you up. The only weak point on the Buffalo EVX is the windows are bullet resistant and not bulletproof as well, but that isn't a huge issue if you keep moving, because this car with HSW upgrades can hit up to 145 miles an hour, and it handles really well for a muscle car with its all-wheel drive, so unless the other guy is really good with his aim or you crash into something and slow down, he won't really be able to pin you down with bullets. Overall, I do give the Buffalo EVX an A rank. It's easily one of the best armored cars in the entire game. But what if you could get a car that's just as well armored as the Buffalo EVX and even faster off the line? I'm of course talking about the Ocelot Virtue, which is an electric hypercar worth $3 million that you can get for absolutely free just by completing the first as well as the last dose missions for Dax. And it also accepts a Monitech upgrade, so you can put a missile lock-on jammer on the Virtue to make it virtually indestructible. The Virtue can tank up to 12 RPGs or 12 homing missiles, the same as the Buffalo EVX, but it's lighter, has better brakes, has more improved handling around corners, so if you go around a track with lots of slow turns, the Virtue will come out on top. I am gonna put this vehicle in the A tier, right next to the EVX, but in my opinion, I like the Virtue and I think it's better overall unless you like participating in HSW time trials and drag races, because the Buffalo EVX has a higher top speed. The HVY Insurgent Pickup Custom is an entirely different vehicle from the regular Insurgent Pickup, and the two shouldn't be confused with each other. But you need the regular Insurgent first in order to make the custom version with a $200,000 upgrade at either your MOC or Avenger Workshop. With a seating capacity for 9 players as well as a roof-mounted heavy machine gun, this all-wheel drive pickup is one of the most versatile vehicles in the game, as you can use it for off-roading, crew transport, contact missions, free roam, pretty much anything you want. And it will soak up 27 homing missiles or 9 RPGs before dying, so you can get into some crazy PvP firefights with the Insurgent Pickup Custom. The windows are fully bulletproof from all directions if you get the heavy armor upgrade, and it can even equip proximity mines, so if anyone's pursuing you, you can easily throw them off by dropping a few mines in their way. Because of its versatility and rugged nature, the HVY Insurgent Pickup Custom easily makes it into the A tier for me, and it's pretty close to being an S rank vehicle. The HVY Barrage is up next, and this one's unfortunately a very underrated vehicle. You don't see it too much because the Night Shark as well as the Insurgent Custom get all of the glory in GTA. Not for no reason though. I mean, the Barrage is slower, and it doesn't provide 360-degree bullet protection for its occupants since there are no windows at all on this vehicle. Still, if you just want a means of transport that is a little bit explosive resistant, has seating for 4 players, and comes with front as well as rear facing machine guns, you should definitely pick one of these up. The Barrage does cost $2.1 million, almost as much as a base Insurgent, but you can get it for $1.6 million with the trade price if you have a facility as well as do the Doomsday heist at least once. Because of the lack of small arms protection and inferior mobility compared to the Night Shark or Insurgent, I'm going to go ahead and say that this one belongs in the C tier. And now it's time for a fan favorite, the HVY Night Shark, which is probably the go-to armored vehicle for any solo player who might be facing explosive sniper rounds, homing missiles, or RPGs. The Night Shark is a large all-wheel drive armored SUV with built-in forward-facing machine guns, and machine guns kinda suck overall and they do next to no damage against armored targets, but that's not why you buy a Night Shark. You buy it so you can ignore up to 27 homing missiles and 9 RPGs. You buy it because it's the fastest as well as best handling armored vehicle in the game with a top speed of over 105 miles an hour, and you also buy it because it costs just $1.2 million on the Warstock Cash and Carry website. This is a bargain for an all-wheel drive off-roader with exceptional armor, speed, and seating capacity for a crew of 4, and because of that, the Night Shark easily earns itself a spot in the coveted S tier. The TM02 Kali is a light tank. It's not particularly a good one because it can tank only 8 RPGs or homing missiles, but it does look cool, and that's really all that matters if you're driving a hulking behemoth like this on the streets of Los Santos. A lot of people who are new to the game might be intimidated by the Kali when they see someone roll up in this tank for the first time, and they'll often abandon the assault or even run away because they don't know that it's actually easier to destroy than some cars. But the fact still remains, the Kali has that presence, that aura that you just don't get from any other armored vehicle, and for that alone, you might want to pay the $3.8 million for the privilege of owning one. Oh, and by the way, you do need a facility to store this vehicle, so if you don't already have one, that's another $2 million at the least. The mediocre armor on this tank is made up for by the fact that it has a giant cannon which can be upgraded to a railgun for a cool $300,000, and it also has a heavy machine gun that can be manned by one of its passengers. It is extremely slow with a top speed of only 42 miles an hour, and anybody on an Oppressor Mark II or Hunter is gonna have a field day with your tank just because you're a giant sitting duck against any sort of aerial enemy. Because of this, I do give the Kali a D tier rating. Sorry to disappoint, but honestly, that's the best I can do. And if you disagree, feel free to drop your explanation in the comments below. Possibly the most underrated armored vehicle in the game, and one that's not really mentioned too often, is the Bravado Halftrack, and this is based on the American M3 armored personnel carrier from World War II. However, I don't think of it as just another relic of the past, because once those dual anti-aircraft guns start firing, you'll be wishing you stayed inside of your garage. And if you get the bunker upgrade, you can upgrade the armament to a quad gun system for even more damage, because you can never have enough guns or mines. The Halftrack has plenty of both, with guns for offense as well as proximity mines for defense, so you can blow up anyone who's chasing you from behind, thinking that your slow speed makes you an easy target. And in case you ever get cornered, you can rely on the Halftrack's bugged out front windows to keep you safe, because for some reason, even after all these years, Rockstar just simply hasn't fixed the glitch where the front glass provides full protection from small arms fire, even after the windshield is visibly shattered to pieces. This means that apart from the tiny slits in the side doors, there's no way to hit anyone sitting inside of a Halftrack with bullets. You have to blow it up entirely to harm the occupants, and you'll need either 27 homing missiles or 9 RPGs to do just that. And if there's someone in the back manning that quad gun, your job will become a lot harder. For that reason, I'm gonna give the Bravado Halftrack a well-deserved S tier ranking. And now it's time for the final 3 vehicles on our list, and the first of these is the Briade 6x6. Most people think of the Briade 6x6 of just having the ability to be turned into one of the best businesses for solo players in the entire game, but that's not all that it's good for. The Briade 6x6 is actually tankier than the Terabyte, which itself is an absolute beast. You may not know this if you're new to the game, but the Briade 6x6 can tank 48 RPGs and homing missiles before dying, and it can be equipped with a giant metal ram up front so you can easily cut through traffic, tossing cars out of your way while running from the bad guys who are chasing you. If they get a little too close for comfort, simply drop one of your many defensive devices like kinetic mines, spikes, EMPs, oil slicks, or even sticky mines. The Briade 6x6 has 0 offensive capabilities, but you can still shoot out of it with your pistol or SMG, and it's 100% bulletproof from all sides. And because it's an excellent business on top of being a very heavily armored vehicle, I'm going to give the Briade 6x6 an S tier rank. Remember, this only applies to the Acid Lab version. The regular Briade is very easy to destroy and offers next to no protection while being slower than the Acid Lab variant as well, so keep that in mind. The MOC is an absolute titan among armored vehicles in GTA, and it's like driving around Optimus Prime, except he's always in vehicle mode. This thing tanks more RPGs, homing missiles, and sticky bombs than anything else in the entire game, whether we're talking about land, air, or sea vehicles. The MOC is so strong, it can go up against 3 Oppressor Mark IIs and survive their barrage of 60 missiles, and that's because you need 69 total homing missiles or RPGs to destroy the MOC cab, and griefers usually tend to just get bored and leave you before the MOC armor fails. In fact, it doesn't need a missile lock-on jammer because that's just how tanky this thing is. And the funny part is that you can have a guy sitting on the tow hitch and he'll still be protected from incoming hellfire of rockets and explosives. I also personally love how the MOC cab can be made to look just like another regular truck cab, so even if your enemies see a dot on the minimap, they won't immediately know that it's you if you just stand there and pretend to be an NPC. Unlike the Briade or Terabyte, this vehicle doesn't stand out, and it's also pretty fast for its size, which is why it gets an easy S tier rank. And then finally, we've got what is one of my personal favorite armored vehicles in the entire game, and the one that I believe is the most difficult to destroy in reality, because even though the MOC and Briade 6x6 can tank more missiles, they can also be destroyed with enough persistence. However, the Terabyte can be equipped with a Bureau Tech missile lock-on jammer at the garment factory, and once you put this modification on, it legitimately becomes the single most annoying target in the entire game, because not only can this truck tank 34 RPGs and homing missiles by default, but once you put the jammer into the equation, station, it's impossible to lock onto this thing. And on top of the jammer, it also comes with a silent running upgrade, which hides it from the map if you stay stationary. And if someone is really persistent, you can shoot back at them with a multi-target homing missile launcher that can be obtained as an upgrade for the Terabyte as well. And don't forget that it also houses an oppressor Mark II in the back, so you can stop your truck, get into the back, and fly out on your oppressor to give your pursuers some payback. And the Terabyte utility doesn't really end there either, because now you can install a master control terminal inside of it to manage all of your businesses on the go, rendering the one in the arcade almost entirely useless. Because this vehicle has amazing offensive potential, because it can install a lock-on jammer, and because it has the master control terminal upgrade now, I do firmly believe the Terabyte is the best armored vehicle in the entire game, and it sits right at the top of the S tier. That's going to do it for my ranking though for the top 15 most armored vehicles in GTA Online, and if you think there's any other vehicle I missed or one you'd like to have personally ranked as a vehicle higher or lower, then let me know down in the comments. With that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video. Make sure to drop a like if you found this video informative, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and you want to see more GTA Online content like this. Also, make sure to check me out on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram, specifically twitch.tv/hazardoushdtv for daily GTA Online money grinding live streams, and also check out my YouTube shorts as well as TikToks for daily short form rapid fire tips, tricks, news, tutorials, guides, updates, leaks, and more. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next GTA 5 online video. Adios amigos.